Bonani, Dumelang. Unless you need me to use it. I had a talk in my head, and I heard the questions, and the talk that I had in my head has flown out the window. So you'll bear with me, because I took this to be, I did this the way that you normally do things. We follow the Spirit. And, but I need to apologize, firstly, because we were rushing to get here. I had to attend a stretch session in the morning and be here on time. So I didn't do what we are supposed to do when we're approaching a majestic place like this. Situ khuleka. Bekufanele ngikhuleke ngithi ngiyakhuleka emakhosini. What that is paying homage. You can't not be touched. But forget African spirituality, your church or whatever. You cannot not be moved by the majestic beauty of the mountains as you drive. And you can't not have felt something. You may not have known what the something is, but there was something that just kind of, you know, there was a vibration there. That's what they call it in English. Tina soti abantu abadala idlozi liyanyakaza. Nyakaza iy'thunywa ukuthi usufike endaweni engcwele, you in a sacred space. And so there must be some kind of movement that the earth must feel a little bit different when you're walking into that space. So I just had to pass that so that I don't feel so terrible about not doing what I would have normally done. In case you're wondering what I would have normally done, which is what I always do, even at the ocean, which is also at the just in a place like this. So that before entering, you request permission. Because you know that this is not yours. You didn't create this. It's a privilege and an honor, actually, to be able to be in such surroundings at all times. So we would usually, and I don't ask why, it would be silver money, usually it would be the old 5-cent pieces we don't have. Now it's become a little more expensive. It's R1 at a shot. So that's what I would use to stop, and then actually it's my offering. That's all I have, to be able to offer and ask the spirits of this place to welcome me, so that I don't get a tummy ache from drinking the water and eating the food. And all of the other things, those are my beliefs, because the energies here would have recognized me and have accepted me because I have made my offering as I stepped in. And the reason I'm going to couch it like that is because when you try and want to place this ancient wisdom in a modern context, as if it's a separation from our daily lives, it almost sounds like there are things that we do that other people don't do, and there are things that other people do that we don't do, or there are times when you actually stop doing what the ancients do. And it's not that. You incorporate it into your life because it is life. For me, there's no, I was explaining this, I was at a conference in India, and I had to speak about my African healing, and I was telling them that for us in Africa, wellness is not just something that's you go and you get. Wellness is life. Life is wellness. Because in our cultures, when we greet you, first of all we say sawubona. That's in Zulu. I mean, I'm going to base it in Zulu because that's where my upbringing is. It S in that word is a plural. It's not a singular. So even though I am saying sawubona as in I, and people when they interpret it, they always say, I see you. It's not. It's we see the plural you. Therefore, with us, if we walk into a room, you know this modern thing, people walk in, they just do anything but to look you in the eye so that you can greet. Because that's the habit we've got into. And someone pointed out, actually, when you don't greet people, it's only when you need them that you realize, damn it, I should have greeted that cleaner. It doesn't need to get to that. It's sawubona. We see all of you because we understand that as you sit there, you're not an individual. You didn't fall off a tree. You are your mother and your father combined into one. You are your mother's mother, your mother's father, combined into your mother, combined into you. You're your father's mother, your father's father, combined into your father, combined into you. And there's no way ever that we, and maybe because of our initiation, which forces you to always remember that I walk not on my own, but I walk with all of those who have walked before me and who have allowed me to breathe. My existence, my being, I don't owe to my own intelligence, my own knowledge. I owe it to whoever it was who decided that one, we want them to walk on this earth. And it's a responsibility, unfortunately, that we then seem to say only belongs to healers. No. There are a lot of things wrong with the way we've now become structured, including assigning certain community and family responsibilities to healers, which are actually things that belong in the home. So that you find healers getting involved in things which actually they have no business being involved in, because these are family things. But for legacy reasons, there's this huge gap in all of our families. And the reason I was vested in the family is because everything about Africa, African spirituality, starts at the family level. Without that family, there's nothing. Because everything of ours is built on a strong family. And we've lost that. The very fact that we have proverbs which say it takes a village to raise a child, and yet you hear statistics like black children don't get adopted. Because we've now started introducing, I'm going to say, Western systems to something that was natural, that was part and parcel of community life and communal living. My child is my sister's child. And that's why with us, my child calls my sister mother. Whether it be small mother or big mother, but unfortunately I'm the youngest. So my kids don't have mamnanes. They only have mamkulus, which is the older mother. My child is my husband's brother's child. That's why, fortunately on that side, my husband is the eldest. So they all have babomnanes because he's the eldest. So all of the younger brothers are the smaller brothers. What does that do? It means that there's equality amongst all of these children in this lineage, on both sides. On both sides. There isn't one which says your mother's side gets lesser treatment and your paternal side gets a preferential treatment. And I always argue that the things of patriarchy are introduced concepts onto the continent. But because we've actually forgotten who we were before colonization, we have a problem. Because we start owning things which are not ours to even own, ever. And we can argue that, but I've got my reasons for saying that. So those are all of the things that for me say that even though it's ancient practices, they are still continue today in our homes, some of us, that our children understand that they are not the only ones who will say ma to me. There are lots of them, all of them with equal claim to this person that is standing before you. And this person with equal claim to all of the very same ancestors that they have claim to. And what does that mean? I think that makes us very equal in the eyes of the spirit world. Because we all have the very same ancestors within a lineage. Those are some of the practices that we take with us as we go through our lives. Now I have a very interesting, job because I get to speak with people of other traditional medicines. Others which are much more, I call them advanced or developed than ours are. And yet there's a similarity in call from all of them. It's that we can't be reductionist in how we look at African healing and African medicine. What do I mean by that? How many of you do yoga? How many of you do yoga just as an exercise? Or do the yoga with all of its the philosophies that go with it? Because what has yoga had to do? Yoga, in order to be exported into the West, has had to divorce itself from spirituality. That's the price that they've had to pay. And yet now you're seeing the move to claw back and bring the spirituality a little bit more closer and the philosophies of the East into that. That's the one side. Acupuncture, and again, acupuncture to be accepted in the West has had to move itself away from the spiritual philosophies that are ascribed to it by the traditional practitioners of traditional Chinese medicine, all because of wanting to be accepted. And I think one of the things that we as African healers in South Africa have been holding on to, and it's something that we must continue holding on to, is to make sure that we keep our spirituality as part and parcel of the healing. Because otherwise it becomes just it just becomes a replacement for allopathic medicine. And I don't think that's what we want. Because we were having this whole discussion about the wellness index for BRICS, blah, blah, blah. And my argument is always, it can't just be that you are substituting medicine with traditional medicine, but it's the exact same system which reduces a person to a machine with different parts. See, all traditions understand that there is a person within a family, within a community, within a society. All of these levels have to be okay for there to be healing and health. So for instance, our country right now, okay, maybe, I'm physically fine, I'm fine, don't have a headache, feet are not swollen from the drive, okay, I'm thirsty, it's fine. But I can't say I'm well, because actually my South African society is very unwell. And for as long as we don't start putting ourselves inside the South African society, that South African society is me, I am South African society, we'll continue having these messed up debates that we have about our country, and then make them about an individual, when they are not about an individual. They are about a society, an entire society. So that when we look and we point fingers and say we are captured, guess what? We are captured, because we're all part of the sickness in our own way. And as much as you want to take yourself out and say, no, but I'm not part of that, yes, you are. Because for as long as one person is not well, one person is not fed, one person has no clothes, one person is not going to school, all of us are in that same condition. And I'll come back to that, because it's important that we, more than focusing on izangoma, izinyanga, and all of that, we need to see a shift in conversation which says, what are the philosophies that drive this thing, if you want to call it a thing? And how can we use those very same philosophies to heal our country? There was the question about suicide. According to African, the spirituality word bothers me a bit, because spirituality is just spirituality. But according to African, in our customs, when there's been a suicide, and it's quite hard, and people don't do this. One of the first things is that body of that person who's killed themselves is whipped. Yasha. Is whipped, and kuyakhuzwa, inokhuzwa ngesingisi. Yes, and it's reprimanded. And it's a public thing, it's not a private thing. It's not supposed to be done in the corner. It's a public reprimand to say, this must never happen here ever again. Because if you go back into families where there's been suicide, inevitably there's a history of suicide. It's never that that person is the first one. And I'm just going to isolate that one only because you asked about it. But what is that doing? And now put on your Western medicine hats, actually. When that process is happening, when that ceremony, that ritual is happening, which to an outsider may appear, or I don't know, barbaric. But this is public. All of the children and the relatives are in the room as the elders talk and say, this must never happen again. Hamba now, lo mhlola. Hamba now, ungaphindi wenzeke. What message is being sent to the kids? That this is unacceptable. That in this house we don't do this. And what does that do? Is that it does resonate there somewhere, that this is not what we do in this home. So just a small, I mean, there are other things attached to that, but just to understand that what people don't see, and because, I don't know, maybe nobody's interested, is that our rituals and ceremonies, which we do, my kids, when they turned, when they are about 3 months or however old, that is a Thanksgiving ceremony. And they wear their, my other friend's baby called it a princess bracelet, because she goes to a very la-di-da school and was trying to make sense of what she's going to say on Monday when she arrives at school with her goat skin bracelet. So we were quite impressed when she says, it's my princess bangle. So when you put on that princess bangle on that child, they may not remember, but there'll always be reference to the fact that wenzelwa imbeleko, meaning we gave thanks for your being alive to our ancestors. What does that do to you as a young person, knowing that my family actually had a whole function just to give thanks for my being here? When our young girls start their menses, which lots of people don't do, and for me, it's not an educated guess, is there's a lot of, most young women now suffer from PMS badly as well, a lot. But in old days, when you start, there's a whole, and it's a massive, massive ceremony to give thanks to the ancestors that you are now at that stage. Go back to a doctor. Any doctor will tell you that the onset of menses is a sign that the endocrine system is working. It's health. It's a sign that this person is actually quite healthy. How does that change the way you relate to your menses as a girl, knowing that this was a special thing, that a whole, sorry vegetarians, goat was slaughtered just for me to give in honor of this momentous occasion in my life? And then they tell you as you sit there, uziphathe kahle. Meaning, it's not behave yourself actually. Ukuziphatha kahle is not behave yourself. It's a little bit more than that, but we'll stick with behave yourself because I can't think of what it is. Just behave yourself. When you are old enough, we will have another ceremony for you, which is your coming of age as a young woman, to say that now you can date, which would be umemul. And again, think about this young girl. She won't need no blesser. She won't, because she will understand that there's value in me looking after myself for my own good, and not for the good of anybody. But, and that's just for me, just a small, insight into all of the things that we actually do, which are continuing practices, and how they actually have an impact on the psychology of our children and our young men and our young women. The same thing happens for men as well, is that they also have certain rites of passage which happen. I'll take, you'll forgive me, men, because I'm not supposed to speak about this, and I'm okay about not speaking about it because I'm a woman. But ukweluka, and I don't want to call it circumcision, because we've allowed it, reductionist, to be reduced to the operation. That's the smallest part of that entire coming of age ceremony, which we're in the process of steadily destroying by replacing the entire teaching of our young men. Make no mistake, I'm not advocating that we don't do something about the botched circumcisions. But there are still best practices that happen where young boys go in the traditional way. They weren't stolen. It was a family thing, because when you come out, your family must be waiting to accept you and welcome you back. That they are taken and they go through and they are schooled, so that the recovery period is actually the time during which they are schooled on what it means to be a man. So when we go and we say, go and have it done in a hospital, as if the thing about it is the operation, and we don't look at how do we incorporate these lessons of manhood that are there, we are also contributing to the destruction of these wonderful, wonderful rituals and rites which were there, which were done by people who know a lot more than we did. And they do know a lot more than we did, because we don't even know how to pick up an edible plant from an inedible one. They could do that. That's basics. I mean, those are smart people. And for me, it's about that, is that open up. Don't get caught up in questions of religion and what. Those will always be there. That's none of our business. Our business is, what is the culture on this continent? Where are we? What do the people here do? Why do they do it? Because you can take that and put up the picture of our society now. Single households, mothers, fathers have ditched their kids because they know that nobody's going to say, which is, children of this home are not left out in the wild. It's not quite wild. But it's all of those things that the more we say we are a modernizing society, we are modern, we are high heels and everything else, you must be very careful of the unintended consequences of leaving behind the ancient practices, having not understood their place in society and their role in terms of making us a healthier people. I always tell people that I also, we do something called Ilad, where I preach. I preach until the sun comes up. So I'll stop right here.